Lake Forest School District 67 Board of Education for June 26, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. LeVert?
Here.
Mr. Folker?
Here.
Mrs. Sands?
Here.
Mr. Burkowski?
Here.
Dr. Lemke?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Mr. Novit?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. There's no president's report tonight, so we move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Burkowski. There are some exciting things for me to pass on to the board about capital improvements that the board has paid for that came at the urging of our staff. They'll be very excited to come back to them. So the first project is Sheridan and Cherokee. The lights, the ceiling tiles are out. All of the lights are out and all of the new lights are in. They're in the process of installing new ceilings and borders. At Everett, they've started the ceiling tile removal. That started the moment the teachers left the building. They've started the light removal. At Deer Path, they've also begun the ceiling tile removal there. In a separate project, boilers, air handling units, and electrical panels, not as exciting as lights are for our teachers, but part of important infrastructure improvements. The demo is started, is in progress in all the areas. The electrical panel has been removed and replacement is in process. And if you've driven by Cherokee lately, you'll notice that the old playground has been removed for some time now, and the earthwork is going to begin soon. So these projects that we've been talking about all year, they are hard at work on them, and it began literally the day after the teachers left the building. They swept into Cherokee and started pulling the ceiling tiles down and started getting after the lights. So they have not wasted any time. And we've also got a lot of clean out going on at all of the buildings as well. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Questions or comments for the superintendent? I have a question for you on the furniture. Is the old stuff being moved out while the new stuff's coming in?
It is, and we're having some fun with some of the stuff that has keep attached to it, and having to make some decisions that I think some people will see some furniture from their attic or grandma's house or wherever that's no longer there. So yes, that's ongoing. We also we're in contact with disposal folks on how best, whether we should auction or gift and whatnot. So we've got some options there. So we've got a lot of stuff that we're moving out.
Any other questions for the superintendent? We now move to public participation. If there's any members of the public who would like to address the board, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and address the board. Seeing none, we move on to reports. We have a post-issuance tax compliance report. That was in our packet. Are there any questions on that? There's no formal presentation to us, just any questions? Seeing no questions, we move on to board committees. Board of Education, Jeff.
The Education Committee has not met since our last meeting. Won't meet until the beginning of the next school year.
Questions or comments for the Board of, for the Education Committee? Seeing none, we move on to the Board Finance and Operations Committee, chaired by Tom.
Finance and Op Committee met on Wednesday morning, June 20th, at the West Campus at 7 a.m. In the meeting, we reviewed the 2018-19 budget and looked at new formats and how to best present it both internally and to the public. We also briefly looked at our the new format the staff is looking to use regarding our financial modeling, and approved renewal of our banking relationship with Lake Forest Bank and Trust. Meeting was adjourned at 8:35 a.m. and our next meeting will be in September.
Thank you, Tom. Comments or questions for the Finance and Ops Committee? We move to the Policy Committee, chaired by Kent.
And very quick report, because we had no meeting since our last board meeting, but we're in the process of scheduling our next joint meeting, likely in August.
Thanks, Kent. Questions or comments for the Policy Committee? Move on to the Compensation Committee, chaired by Rob.
Compensation has not met.
Move on to the Joint Shared Services Committee. Joint Shared Services Committee has not met since our last meeting. We now move on to the Liaison Reports. We'll start with NSSED. Suzanne.
NSSED met on June 13th. I was not there, so the report that I submitted is the board brief that is produced by the administration. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments for Suzanne regarding NSSED? Legislative Liaison, Tom.
Actually, I didn't submit a report, but I have one that sort of popped up here a little late, so bear with me here. But on June 4th, in this month, a new state law was enacted by the governor, and it's called Public Act 100-587. And it's important because it reduces the threshold which triggers an additional employer contribution covering year-to-year salary increases for TRS and SERS members. If those salary increases factor into a member's retirement annuity calculation. And essentially what it does is the previous cap was 6% with the so-called pipeline. Under the new law, going forward at some point, there's still some I's to dot and T's to cross to clarify this stuff, but it's down to 3%. So a pipeline employee going forward will be a 3% cap. Anything over that cap, the district pays for, not the state, the district. And that was previously 6% that was enacted in 2005. So there's a little bit more to come on that. We'll talk about it as it becomes a little bit more clear, but it is important and notable.
Thank you for that, Tom. Questions or
Question.
comments?
Is the quote pipeline specifically defined in the law in terms of the number of years that can be considered the pipeline?
I think the term is the same, and I think people that are in the pipeline right now, that's not going to affect. And I don't know if somebody's under contract now and that contract expires in 21, if they declare between now and the end of the contract that they want to enter that pipeline, if they still go to the 6% or the 3%. The threshold they've sort of set is, as of June 30th, 2024, it's 3% going forward. So we're still trying to figure out the gap between 18 and roughly 24 on how that works, and I don't have that answer right now.
But in the old law or whatever, was the pipeline defined? I know we call it 4 years, right? Is that a legal state law definition, or is that a district definition? How is that pipeline defined?
It's your average. Your retirement calculation is based on your last 4 years average. And the new tiers going forward, I think, is your best 8 years out of your last 10. So I think that pipeline is 4.
But I also think, and I could be wrong about this, but it's also my understanding that 3% is in any year. Like, you can't, any time that you do an increase above 3%, that's outside of the cap. Is that not true? Right? So it doesn't matter what year it is in your...
You could go 3, 3, 3, 6, and that last year, that 4, 5, and 6 would be the responsibility of the district going forward.
But
Again,
your
when
point
that
is it's not
applies.
even retirement specific, I believe.
Right. You could, any time, isn't it true that any time, or no, only in the last?
So if you negotiated a 4% raise from one to the other and a part of an entire contract, that 1%, would the district?
That's what I don't know, but
That means you'd have to accrue.
no, not of an entire contract. No, year to year. It's a year to year, 3%.
But only over the last 4 years.
They're going to look at the top 4 consecutive years in a 10-year window. That's what the cap is applicable to. So let's say if you were moving through when you were a relatively new teacher and you were getting step increases and picking up coaching, and that would not apply, because it's not going to make a difference at that point.
So there's still things to be determined, but it's impactful.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions on this? We move on to Spirit of 67 Foundation. Suzanne,
Spirit of 67 will not meet till the fall.
questions for that? Exec APT, Jeff.
The APT Executive Board will not meet until the fall.
Any other liaison reports that I may have missed? We now move to our second public participation moment. If there's any members of the public who would like to address the board, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and address the board. Seeing none, we move on to our action items. First item, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution for CLIC membership of Workers' Compensation Program?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Jen, remind me, please, CLIC stands for Cooperative,
Collective Liability Insurance Cooperative, CLIC.
it's the insurance cooperative.
Yes.
Thank you.
School District Insurance Cooperative.
Any other questions or comments on this? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Just for the public, the next two items are related to the same click. May I have a motion to approve the CLIC workers' compensation contract in the amount of $54,216?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the CLIC liability insurance contract renewal in the amount of $68,201?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Whipple Consulting contract as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the furniture purchase in the amount of $99,285.56?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Jen, I have a question on it. Is this the last, my understanding was this was going to sort of be the cleanup things that trailed on. Is this the final approval that the board will be asked as it relates to the furniture?
This is the final piece related to what the board has previously approved, which is around 2.2 million, if I recall. I do know there's some conversation around what might be the next phase or next step, but I would assume that that would come as a recommendation in the new approval.
Okay, so. Fine, thank you.
And how do we do versus our budget? Good?
My guess is I think we probably nailed it, because I think they were trimming to stay within that number.
Good.
Other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye,
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Motion carries.
thank you. May I have a motion to approve the amended 2018-19 calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Why are we amending it? I think no, but I want to just ask.
That was going to be my question. Can you just tell us briefly what the changes are? Thank you.
This is the,
So we were trying to be super efficient, and we put two types of days on one date. So I don't know the exact date, but it's the Spring Institute, and we were going to try and use it as also an emergency day. Per the regional office, we cannot do that. So we'll keep it as an Institute day, and we'll shift the emergency day to Friday after the last emergency day, which is currently on a Thursday.
So there's actually no change in the days, there's a change in the contingency plans if we have a snow day?
Correct.
So there was, I'm not imagining, there was before this day in April or whatever it is, will be a school day if we have a snow day before it, and that's now gone. It's now at the end of the year,
It was an Institute day.
right?
And so we were never planning on having school, but if we needed the emergency day, we were trying to embed it in where the Institute day was, and we cannot.
You can't do that. Okay.
Cannot.
So
But you didn't decide to put the emergency day on another,
At this point, with the calendar being done and we have that Friday available, which is a natural, nice day, we'd prefer to tack it on to the end.
okay.
So I lost you there. If we have a snow day in January, the last couple of years, we've done we make it up before June because nothing happens in June. We're not doing that next year?
That's not the proposed calendar, no. And the reason is it's our fault, but we tried to do it in a very easy way, which would be a day that's already off, the Institute day. And when we submitted the calendar, what we found out is we can't.
So help me understand what we did this year.
This year, I don't know that we had an embedded day.
We did. We had a snow day.
It was on the first day back from like one of the breaks instead,
Yes.
and it was not an institute day.
So it was a
That's how it
regular, it was just an embedded snow day. So no attendance, but then attendance if there was a snow day.
It was the first day back from spring break.
Correct.
That Monday.
Thank you.
Right, yeah, we designated it ahead of time, and that actually worked out pretty well.
And Mike, the reason why, and it's a great idea, and we'll continue to do it moving forward, we don't want to go back and rebuild the entire calendar to embed that one snow day.
I understand that. I think we got to that point of having it because there was, I think, some consensus, if I remember correctly, that those days in June are lower value academically than others. So it made some sense, but I understand what you're saying. So, thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please, Eileen?
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve expelling student 2018-1 from Deer Path Middle School from June 26, 2018 until June 26, 2020, and that the student status for the transfer reflect that the student is not in good status for the term of June 26, 2018 through June 26, 2020.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please, Eileen?
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the human resources items as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We now move to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of a board member. I'll now read the items on the consent agenda. Approval of disbursements, payroll, and financial statements May 2018. Adoption of prevailing wage resolution. Approval of budget transfers. Approval of designation of depositories. Minutes of a regular meeting and workshop May 22nd, 2018. Minutes of an executive session May 22nd, 2018. Minutes of a special board meeting executive session May 30th, 2018. Disposal of audio recordings August 22nd, 2016. Does any board member want to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We now move to FOIA requests. We had one FOIA request from Deltec, commercial status pending. Announcements, August 20th and 21st, 2018 are institute days, no student attendance. Tuesday, August 21st, 2018, we have our next Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. right here in the West Campus boardroom. May I have a motion to adjourn the Lake Forest School District 67 board meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.